I was researching cooking classes in Jerusalem. And I came across an article in Nasher about Doreet. So I emailed her to ask where I can take a class. And she immediately wrote back and said, I'll teach you. We talked and I said, no problem, putting together a class. You know, I'm on the steering committee of CBD Women and on the Jewish Arts, Life, Culture Committee. But let's talk about Doreet. She spent 12 years doing high tech, but it wasn't fulfilling. So she decided to go to her roots. Doreet is from New York, where she learned to cook from her mom. Then she went to Israel to cook with her aunties and learn all the secrets. In the meantime, she has 3 children and opened a restaurant. Busy lady. I hope you all are ready to cook along with Doreet. Let's get cooking. And by the way, shikun was the top thing that you knew about when it comes to cooking. Go for it, Doreet.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. This is such a privilege. I appreciate you guys, Sherry, Maya, Bonnie, Jane, for providing this platform for me. And let's get to it. It's pretty late, so I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So as Maya had sent the recipes, we will be making lachuch, which is a spongy flatbread. Also, we'll be making a Yemenite matzah ball soup, so it's vegetarian or vegan, and as well as hilbeh, which is a fenugreek dip. It's a condiment that can be eaten with both lachuch and inside the soup. So I prepared here for you. We have the start of the lachuch. So right now we have some yeast blooming with a little bit of sugar, as well as some warm water. And please follow the recipes as you have it at home. In this bowl, I've mixed the dry ingredients. And here we have sifted flour, as well as baking powder and salt. So what I'm going to do, once this starts blooming, and it's starting to bloom a little bit, I'm going to transfer the dry ingredients into the liquid, into the yeast liquid. I'm going to give it a swirl with a spatula, just kind of get it all inclusive. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm using a hand blender, and I don't want, once I put the hand blender in, I don't want the flour to poof into my face. So I'm noticing that it's pretty thick, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. Again, the ratios are all in the recipes that were sent to you. I'm going to mix again with my hand, with my spatula. And if I'm going too fast for you, please let me know, and I can repeat as many times as you need. Ultimately, my goal here is to get a pancake batter consistency, even a little bit more liquidier than a pancake batter. So right now, I'm kind of liking the consistency. Right now it's a little bit goopy. You see some clumps, but the hand blender can work with this. So I'm going to take my handy dandy blender right over here. And now I'm going to tip the bowl. The reason why I want to tip it, because I noticed that the bowl is a little bit high for the amount of liquid I have in here, or batter. So I'm going to tilt it and make sure my beaters are inside the liquid so that it doesn't spiral over me. So I'm going to start it on a very, very low speed. Very awkward position, but usually I have it, I'm doing it on the table. I'm going to, right now I just beat it a little bit, or blend it a little bit, just to get sort of a uniform consistency. I'm taking my spatula and I'm going to make sure to kind of scrape the edges to get any kind of goopiness off the walls of the bowl, the sides of the bowl. And again, really smooth and there's no crunch.
Doreet, there's a question in the chat if you're using a hand mixer instead of a blender.
So the blender, you can use it, but it's hard to actually, keep track of how it looks. Here you have more control using a hand blender with respect to how liquidy it is and all of that. And you want to just keep an eye on the thickness. So it's better not to use a blender because you have to take it out and cover it and just kind of gauge. Here, using a hand blender, actually looking inside the bowl is better, a better way to gauge the thickness. So I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time.
Could you show us the batter?
Doreet, there's a request if you can show the batter more closely. Maybe if you can raise the bowl to the camera.
Correct. I will do that right now. Now, I blended it on high speed, and what my goal is to get these little air bubbles. I don't know if you see that. The
No.
higher the speed, no? Try one
Can't see it at all.
Okay, well,
Oh, do you have the two windows open? Do you have two of the windows? One of them shows Doreet from the front and one shows.
No, how do you do that?
So you should look at the speaker view.
Yeah.
If there's anyone else that having the same problem, maybe chat with me.
Yeah, I don't see.
I think a number of us do. I don't know on Zoom how to do that.
So you can pin whichever person you want,
Right.
right? So if you're in the gallery view and you find Doreet's second camera where you can see from above, and then you click on it, you can pin that one. You'll still hear the sound from her other camera, but then this one where you can see from above will be right on the main screen.
Right.
then.
But Jennifer, you can't see both of them at the same time unless you have a
Yes, you can.
screen.
Bonnie,
Yeah, just do both
This-
unless you
this
just
is-
stay in the gallery. Yeah.
this is Jane talking. And if you are in the gallery view, you will see two pictures. One is Doreet and one is from straight ahead. And the other one is a picture from up above. She has a second camera working,
I see
she-
that.
logged in
I
twice.
I don't see that at all.
They're logged in twice and you can, they're right next to each other on my screen.
Yeah.
And you
One,
can see her moving around one next to the other.
yeah, I understand that. I didn't know if you could have them both at the same time.
I still don't see that, so.
If you go to the three dots, the three
Oh,
blue
three
dots,
dots,
it will
okay.
say either pin or replace pin. If you click on pin, it enlarges that picture. So you can flip from one to the other, but I don't know how you show it both at the same time.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
But I know there is a way. We're going to do some class on this, so everyone will know. Since the
Well-
rest of our life is going to be on Zoom.
And
Yeah.
Sharon, you can private chat me with your phone number and I'll call you if you want.
Yes, because I did the same as Bonnie, pin the three dots. Yeah.
Did you see it?
When I went
No.
to those three dots, nothing changed.
No,
Okay, so
it,
please-
it,
No,
please
you
private,
don't just go the three dots. You have to click on the word pin.
I
and
did.
that
that's what I
enlarges the
did.
picture.
but I couldn't see what is the
Girls,
inside the
let's
ball.
continue.
Oh, well,
Let's-
just go on it and I'll get a phone number and.
Okay, great.
okay. Okay,
Sorry.
no worries, no worries. I'm sorry that you had trouble seeing that, but let me see if I can do this.
How about if you just tipped it by your chest?
Okay, yes. just tilt it later.
No problem. So I blended the entire liquid. It's
Okay.
right now, I covered it with plastic
Yeah.
wrap, and I'm
Okay.
going to let it sit and rise for
Okay.
about 45 minutes. So I'm going to say at about 8:20, we will come back to this. So right now,
Okay.
we move on to the soup.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So right here, I have my stock pot. I know in the recipes that you received, it was 6 to 8. This is much bigger because I am cooking for a larger crowd. So I have customers ordering for tomorrow. And
Now
now
I have both cameras. I don't
I
know
know
why.
that there are some interested people who want to know how to add chicken. So instead of just having it par or needing vegan. So if you want real chicken soup, you will need to boil the chicken or let it simmer. Okay, so you place the cut up chicken inside the pot first, pour water on top, cover the chicken with water, and allow that to simmer. And you'll notice that there'll be debris that will rise to the top, it'll bubble, and it'll be like foamy. You'll need to skim
Skim
off
that.
the top, okay, and that's basically just fat and debris and dirt. So you'll need to skim that off, as well as you can. And then you can add all the ingredients that I've added in the recipe that you received. So right now we're going to stick with the vegan recipe. So we're going to start with onions, sauteing some onions, and then we're going to add some garlic. So in the recipe, it's about 1 to 2 onions for the amount that you're doing. I'm going to turn on the gas. Add in my onions. You could use canola oil or olive oil. I do use canola because canola is good on high heat and olive oil will burn. I'm going to let that saute for a little bit on high. So I hear that jachnun is one of your favorites, I guess, Yemenite food. I was just curious as to who tried jachnun or how they've heard of it. Where
Is jachnun is the big puff, like puff paste.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love it. I like it. I
Yes.
like it so much.
Jachnun
I-
typically
I
is
think she's talking about the melawach.
oh,
Malawa.
I
Okay,
make
you're right.
as well.
I'm
Malawak
confused.
is
Maybe you're right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Malawak is a
Malawa.
flatbread.
Yes.
Yes, and you flip it in a pan with a cover. And
Mhm.
malawak is sort of like a phyllo dough, and it has layers and it's laminated in between. And when you put
Okay.
high heat in a pan with that phyllo dough, with the malawak, it'll puff up. You need
Mhm.
to have it puff.
Yeah.
And so it's delicious. You can
Yep.
have it sweet or savory. So here I have
Delicious.
it sauteing. You don't want to have the onions burn. You just want to have them translucent, okay? Just a little translucent, not golden. Right? And at this point, I'm going to add a little bit of garlic. Now, garlic, burns a little bit on high heat, so you can't have it saute too much. You can have garlic that's either sliced. I've seen different versions. Sliced, cut in half. Some people just throw them in whole. Some people mince it. For tomorrow, I felt like mincing mine. So that's what I did. I'm going to go ahead and put my garlic in. This is about, I did 3 cloves. I'm going to mix that together. It's a very, very, very easy recipe. I'm going to go ahead and add in my vegetables. So we have here celery that I cut up. You can chop your celery any way you like. You can have them very large, very small. I put mine in between. I sell my soup in takeout containers, so they're smaller. So I like to have my vegetables on the smaller side, chopped up so that each person gets enough vegetables. At home with my family, I can take them and take baby carrots and just throw them in whole. You can also use carrot chips, however you'd like. You know, Yemenite food is not, it's not European food. It's not fancy. You know, we focus on the taste more so on how you, on the presentation. It's really about the taste. And it's a food that's eaten with your hands. And so it's all about the experience, that's sensory. I'm gonna mix this again together. So now as the sauteing, and I'm noticing a little bit, I'm gonna add a little bit more oil, just so that it has a nice sheen to it. Now, so when we use the, I make beef soup, it's like I make tsli, and tsli is like grilled sort of sauteed beef inside of a pot. And so I put in all of my spices when I do that. So likewise, I like to put my spices in right on top of the vegetables to make it absorb so the vegetables has a lot of taste. And
When
not-
you put in, if you use chicken, do you take out the chicken while you're sauteing your vegetables?
No, I don't. I put it right inside the water. It's a little bit different. You can, but I don't do that. I'm lazy. I don't. But see, the chicken, you're creating a chicken stock and it's fattier and it has a lot of flavor. And then the vegetables really are thinner, have thinner walls and absorbs all of that flavor. To me, I don't think it's necessary, but you can do that, absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my spices. So I do use a consomme because originally Yemenite soup is a chicken soup. It has beef in it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of a consomme flavor. I do about two tablespoons. And then,
What is that again?
oh, chicken consomme. It's a powder. It's by Osem. Or chicken soup powder. And it adds that chicken soup flavor, but it is vegan.
Okay.
I also use this Yemenite spice Hawaii by Pereg, and I believe you got the link to it to purchase. And I do also about, it depending on how much you're making, 1 to 2 tablespoons. And again, this is all to your taste preference. I sometimes add a little bit, take out a little bit, just depends on your preference, how hot you like it. Hawaii has turmeric curry and it has cumin and black pepper, a little salt, and it's so flavorful. I can smell it right now. I don't know if you guys can if you're doing it at home, but it's delicious. And then also at this point, you can add a little bit of salt, but I like to add my salt at the end. The reason being is that the chicken powder, or the chicken consomme has salt in it, likewise with this. So I like to add it at the end if needed. So right now I see that my celery especially is really translucent as well as my onions. And I'm just kind of getting all the spices absorbed into there. And then after this step, I'm going to add the vegetable stock. I make vegetable stock every week, so I have already prepared. You can buy boxes of vegetable stock as well. It just adds a little bit more of that flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. My stock includes a little bit of the Hawaii spice. It has leeks, onions, celery, and carrots. It makes the flavor a little bit more robust. And then at this point,
خوابی با
I'm going to add
خب
more.
من دیگه نمیدونم چجوری اینو بگیرم بهت میگم برو بالا درم قفل کن
Up to about 8 or 9 quarts. And I'm gonna let that stir in there. Now, I have other things. I just wanted to let it sit a little bit. Based on the color, I know I'm gonna add a little bit more spices to it, but I wanna let it sit and just kind of let it simmer before I add a little bit more spices to it, because it really needs to, all the spices need to mesh together. Because it can be a little bit deceiving. If you add too much salt or too much in the beginning, you may have a salty product, end product. So leave all of the tweaks at the end if you need. So I'm gonna let that simmer, leave it for about maybe 5-10 minutes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients to that. So I'd love to guys to talk to you, but if you have any questions, please go ahead. Can chit chat a little bit. Anything about other products that I make? I have here an establishment here in Palo Alto at the Jewish Community Center. It's called the Malawach Bar.
And can we just find it on the web to do Shabbat orders?
Yes, yes. So it's you have to include the Malawa, MALAWAH bar.com.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Doreet, you're standing right in front of the sign. There it is.
So I also make a number of Yemenite products. We were talking about, I think, with one of the participants, Malawach. Malawach is the namesake, and that is a fried flatbread. That's delicious. You can have that sweet or savory. I grew up on it sweet. But alongside malawach, traditionally, you have your grated tomatoes, your egg, and the iconic schug, the Yemenite condiment. And I'll show you what that looks like. Where did I put it? So this is, whoops, let me put it right up there. This is schug. Schug is a combination of cilantro, serrano peppers, red chili peppers, salt, garlic, lemon juice, and olive oil. And it's absolutely delicious. It's hot and spicy, but Yemenites claim that this is like the key to losing weight. Yeah, speeds up your metabolism. Likewise with hilbeh that we're going to be doing in a little bit.
Dorit, you don't put cumin?
Cumin in here? Yes, thank you so much. Cumin and red, yes, cumin. I appreciate it. Hilbeh is another amazing Yemenite dip, and that has great health benefits. It reduces sugar, those who are kind of suffering from diabetes. It helps crave any sugar cravings, and it also it just helps with overall, I guess, overall health benefits. It just makes you feel good and just very, very good for you. What the Yemenites used to do is to not only eat it, but based on the recipe I sent to you, you have to soak it overnight. They would actually drink the water, the soaked water. So delicious. Just don't go out running the next day, because then you'll just smell like sleeping. You don't want to sweat it out. But so yeah, and then I also make obviously the lachuch that we'll be doing also a little bit later. And again, like I said, Yemenite food is all handheld style foods, and it's a sensory food. It's an experience. Everything that we eat with our hands. It's not barbaric. That's how it was done. And ever notice that when you eat with your hands, food just tastes better? I don't know. I always thought it just tastes better. You just kind of lick your fingers and it's delicious. So that's how Yemenite food is traditionally eaten, and it's communal too. So so yeah. Jachnun, as you know, it's a sweet rolled bread that's baked overnight for 12 to 14 hours. And that's also a staple now in Israel. Everyone knows what jachnun is, and it's a traditional Shabbat morning food. And like I said, it's baked overnight. So they put in before Erev Shabbat, they put it into the oven. It's baked on very, very, very low heat, like at 200, 205 degrees for about 10 to 14 hours, and the house smells phenomenal. You have your roasted brown eggs on the side, your schug and your grated tomatoes, and it's just a feast. It's amazing. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for me?
Can we just government into the cafe to order, or do we have to order ahead of time?
Sure, great question. So ideally, it's better to order online, pre-order. You can order that day and come in and pick up, or you can order delivery. And the reason why I say that to order ahead of time is because it'll ensure your order. I mean, you'll get your order. Orders online take precedence for me. And unfortunately, sometimes when people come on site and order on the spot, sometimes I'm sold out, especially of my malawach and my jachni. So ideally, it's best to order online. So you'll know for sure you'll get your order. But it is an option. You can come on site as well.
Thank you.
Doreet, I know that you're doing it vegetarian. When you do it with meat, is it kosher? For those of us who keep kosher?
Yep, I sell also burgers, and next week I'm going to start selling marak regel. It's a beef bone marrow soup, and so everything is kosher. I'm certified under the VAD of Northern California, Sunrise Kosher. That's the hechsher that we have here.
That's great. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my soup is simmering. I hear it. What's going on? Okay, and you have to taste your soup before you add anything. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice taste. Give it a swirl first, and then check it. It needs a little more because I'm Yemenite. Got to make it a little bit more oomph to it. So I'm going to add a little bit more Hawaii and maybe a little bit more of the soup. Let me just grab another spoon. I'll be right back. After this, it'll be perfect.
Doreet,
Yes, ma'am.
when you're making the hilbeh, does it have to be perfectly smooth?
Yes, like whipped cream. It should look like like a thick whipped cream.
Okay,
Yes. Naturally, hilbeh has little bits in it. That's its natural look to it. That's fenugreek. But ultimately, it should be smooth.
so keep whisking.
Yes, ma'am. So whisking, it's going to take a while for you to get that whip-like consistency. So I would say use a blender or a hand blender. I use a blender.
Okay,
Okay. So at this point, I added my little extra of Hawaii. Now I'm going to go ahead. And, excuse me. Items. So I take one tomato, I score it with a knife. Okay, just score it around. It's going to absorb the soup, and then the tomato elements, I guess, will also be kind of meshed into the soup in there. It's going to soften. You're going to see it's going to fall apart. I'm also going to take some lemon. This is from my garden. I'm going to squeeze a half a lemon. Actually, I'm going to do a whole lemon. Squeeze a whole lemon, and then take that half part lemon and then plop it in there. Likewise, with the other half, squeeze.
Doreet, since this isn't tomato season, can I use a canned tomato?
No, no, use a tomato. With all due respect,
Okay.
I don't mean to. A whole tomato, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take that and then plop it in there. I may use the other small lemon I have here, but again, I'm not gonna be too eager with this. Just want to taste it before I go ahead and do that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some cilantro. Okay, so my cilantro, I bought a bunch. So this is like a small bunch. And we love cilantro. We put cilantro on everything. So I just cut the stems here a little bit. I literally take all of this. I washed it really, really well. And I'm gonna dump it inside the soup and let it just all simmer together. And just-
Doreet,
yes. Mhm.
I asked this on the chat, but I do wonder, the Amazon says they don't have the hilbeh in the jars. And somebody suggested Pars might have it.
Yes.
Do you know of anywhere else?
I know Pars has it.
You know they do? Okay.
Indian store,
Right.
Indian store will have the filigree, but you have to ground it before.
Yeah.
Is that Doreet? Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
I sell hilbeh already made. I make it and I sell it, a container. If that's an option for you, and I know you probably want the experience to do it by yourself, it'll come back on Amazon. It will.
Okay,
It's
But
probably
you're-
I buy all of it
What
on
is
Amazon.
hilbeh?
Excuse me.
What is hilbeh? I missed what that was.
Hilbeh is fenugreek. It's ground fenugreek seeds, and it comes in a powder form. And what you need to do is soak that powder overnight in water.
But that's going in your soup?
That is alongside the soup.
Oh, okay.
And what you do is you take spoonfuls and you can either put it on top, let it float, or take your lachuch and dip into it. It's a dip.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So if you see here, it's actually boiling. Can you see that boiling? I'm just gonna let it go. And now,
But if you don't like cilantro, you don't have to put it in, right?
no, but I do have to say that's a lot of flavor. I'm going to lower the heat to a simmer on a medium low and just let it sit for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I mean, it's vegetables, it's going to soften really quickly. If it was chicken or beef, it's much longer, an hour and a half to 2.
If you don't want to use cilantro, would parsley be a good substitute?
Parsley is also good, yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
may I go back to the fenugreek for 1 minute? I have it, but it's in the seeds. I don't know if you can see it, but it's not ground yet.
Yeah. So if you have it in the seeds, I remember growing up doing this. You have to really look at the seeds and take all the little black ones out, kind of like you have to sift through it. But if it's seeds that are already cleaned and sifted, then you'll need to, if you have a coffee grinder, excuse me,
Grinder.
then you can go ahead and use a coffee grinder to do that. Even
Okay.
if you have like a high-speed commercial blender, maybe that could work.
Well, I have a coffee grinder. It'll be easier. Okay, perfect. Well, then I'll try that as long as I have it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm done with the questions.
Doreet, can we ask the question from what time to what time are you open at the restaurant?
Yep. So I'm open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 12 o'clock to 3. I'm open on Friday from 11 to 2. So basically 3 hours a day. I'm also open on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Are you gonna make מרק שועית עם בשר?
כן.
Okay.
לא מרק שועית, אבל מרק רגל. Yeah, יש חלק, there are some people who like to put shu'it, some no, it depends.
Yeah, okay.
Is shu'it beans?
Yes.
And
yes.
you mean green beans?
lima beans, fava beans. Some people put chickpeas like hummus. I've seen so many versions. But my version growing up for marak regel, it was literally the regel, the leg bone, and the marak. And then you have your tepuach adama, your potato. And then we had bread. And that was the spread. And then we had obviously hilbeh. To me, when you put marak, like shu'it inside, it kind of adds to it. Depends how thick you make it, like a chamin or not a chamin, a stew, not a stew. I don't know. You could go for it. Feel free to do whatever you want. It's delicious no matter how you do it.
Dorit, is your cooking typical to Jewish Yemenite food, or it's
Yes.
general Yemenite?
Yes. So Jewish Yemeni food is distinct. Jewish is distinct from the from the Yemeni Muslim. So because Jews, as we all know, we were persecuted all over the world. So too the Yemenis. And then when Islam came to be in 7th century or something, they were persecuted and they couldn't I guess conduct themselves as they would normally be, and they had to hide and all that. So their resources, meaning their food resources, was very scarce. So unlike Muslim Yemenis, they had a lot of lamb. They had access to, depending on where they were in Yemen, if they were near the water, they had fish and all that. But they had access to a lot more. Unfortunately, the Jews had access to really the carbs, the grains, and on Shabbat they would have their chicken or their beef, but it was minimal. Usually, the Yemeni Jews would have one meal a day, and would be heavy. You have your bread, you have your condiments, your dips, you have your soup. It was really soup and bread, and heavy. It had what we call salmonate, like a clarified butter, but and it was fatty. It was a fatty sort of a meal to keep them satiated for all day. But they ate, from the ground. They had herbs, a lot of herbs, and again, although our food is very simple, it's really rustic and flavorful. I mean, it has essence to it. It's not French food for sure, but it's food that we're proud of, and it's a comfort food. I think it's delicious. So that's it in a nutshell. I do want to show you, for those who are not familiar with Yemeni culture or celebrations, Yemenites would have khimeh when they would get married. So before they marry, they have a khimeh. And women were integral. They had an integral role in the community, for at least bringing a bride, a young lady, into womanhood. And they called it a khimeh. It was about 7 days before their actual wedding. So khimeh, chet, nun, hey. Chet is an acronym for, chet means chala. So, and then the nun means nida, meaning like taharat mishpacha, family purity. And hey is hadlakat nerot. So those were like kind of the 3 mitzvot that women would take part in the Yemeni, I guess, community. And they were all about Shabbat. Even though they couldn't really read, they were more of like subordinate. Unfortunately, that's just how it was in Yemen, to the men. They didn't really read. The men would go out and learn all day and work, and the women would be home and cooking things. But they were the spine of the home. If they weren't ready for Shabbat, they had to say, okay, now Shabbat starts. I mean, they really had a say in how the home was conducted. So again, I want to show you. So khimeh. When I got married 17 years ago, I had a china ceremony, and this is, let me see, do you see like this better? This is a traditional garb of a bride and a groom. And the bride is supposed to emulate or mimic the Queen Sheba. She was adorned with all these jewels and just pampered for 7 days. She's beautiful. She's considered a beauty. And then you notice here, my husband was wearing these peot. These peot, or what we call simanim, signs, are the Yemeni Jews had to wear peot so that they were different from the Yemeni Muslims. So they really had to stand out. I mean, there were a lot of things that they had to do to look different. I mean, it was something that they just had to. I mean, they told them that they had to look. It was just a different way of life. So, so that was it. And today, obviously, they still wear peot. They have that. And even, you know, beards are considered a sign of like simanim.
How was the food like at your wedding?
Oh, great. Believe it or not, I made the jachnun. So, yeah, I made it. I don't know how much I made, like 500, 800 pieces. It's crazy. But yeah, the food was delicious. I mean, I was married in Connecticut, and the chine was great because not my husband's side is Ashkenazis of Russian descent, and his family way back when he doesn't speak Russian, but that's where his family comes from. And it was very interesting, you know, it was educational for them to learn about Yemenis from different cultures and different parts of the world. I mean, just Jews, I mean. So yeah, it was a great moment. And then I'm really proud of. So and also, and then one more thing I wanted to show you guys. So the Yemenis to this day have left a mark in Yemen, Yemeni Jews. They were craftsmen, they were silversmiths. So they'd make jewelry, and they actually taught the Yemeni Muslims how to make jewelry. Now, the jewelry that they used to make had this filigree sort of detail in it. And I wanted to show you. This is real authentic jewelry from Yemen, and my mom got it, I believe, from her mom. So here's a bracelet, and it's silver. I don't know if you see that, these little dangles. So Jews of Yemen would actually sit there and etch each little one, and they have little designs inside. I'll put it up here too, if you can see that. So this also emulates this type of frilly jewelry. We'd wear this on our heads like this, and we'd kind of drape over, and this would be our what we call our galgush, and we have a galabia, and all the women would wear these little like gems coming across their forehead, and this emulates that. And this is actually a bracelet. Here's a keychain that's also, so you can see this filigree sort of style. So that's what the Yemenis would make. And this is also antique. So during Havdalah, at the end of Shabbat on Saturday night, we make a prayer Havdalah to bring in the new week. And so this is what is used for the prayer for Psamim. So this is a Psamim box. And it's pretty tarnished though, it's old. But was hand done. I'm not sure by whom, and I can see even like little gems have fallen off, but it's very, very old. So just want to share that with you. So yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. My soup is boiling. I'm gonna go check it. Let me know if you see this. Oh my gosh, it's so fragrant. It smells delicious. Okay. So it's 8:15 now. It's about that time to make the lachuch. I'm gonna check on the batter. I'm gonna wait about just 5 minutes more on the batter just to have it more more substance to it. I'd like to see more air bubbles, but I can show it to you. Let me know if you see. Can you see some of the bubbles in there? A little bit?
Oh, we can see. Thank you.
Okay.
It looks
Do-
pretty liquidy.
Yeah, it's liquidy. It has a
do,
liquid consistency.
okay, I have a question. Do you leave the pot, the soup overnight on the stove, or
You meaning on the heat or just leave it?
just leave it on the stove overnight, or not? You wait until it is cool and then you put it in the fridge?
Yeah, I wait till it's cool and I put it on the fridge. Yeah, in the
So you
fridge.
don't leave it overnight on the stove? Okay.
Um,
Because it's closed. There is nothing.
it is cool. I can tell you, I've done that once, but I was doing an overnighter. I was here in the kitchen all night. So I was
Oh,
kind of keeping an eye
okay.
and I was doing it very late. I did that once, but usually I would just let it cool and then put it in the fridge and then take it out.
Okay.
Sometimes when you put in the fridge, or just let it sit for a long time, it tastes better the next day.
Oh,
So,
okay. Thanks.
absolutely. I'll actually put this in here. I have a holding cabinet that's warm. And there I place all of my doughs to proof. So I just place the lachuch in there to kind of help it rise a little bit more. Do you guys have any other questions?
Dorit, what is the most popular food item at your restaurant?
Oh, the sabich. So even the lachuch sabich wrap. I mean, it really depends on the day. I would say the sabich is pretty popular. It's the lachuch that we're going to make now. And sabich is not Yemeni, meaning the components. It's actually Iraqi. It's named after a person. His name is Sabich. He's an Iraqi Jew who came to Israel, and he actually brought this type of food to Israel. So if you go to Israel today, sabich can be eaten in a pita bread, in I guess a lafa, I guess too. But I made a Yemenite version, so I have my lachuch bread. I shmear schug on it. I include all the components. I have eggplant, hard-boiled egg, pickles, cool wheat, like salad, cabbage salad, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and I drizzle tahina or tahini and amba. Now, amba is a pickled mango sauce, and it's very tangy. I just do a little drizzle of amba, and then I wrap it. And then I cover it with tin foil, and people eat it like this. It's a handheld item. Yeah,
That's delicious.
thank
Okay.
That
you.
is so funny, Dorit, because I thought the name is not after a person, but it's a ראשי תיבות. It's made from salad, ביצה, atzil, and I never knew what the yud is for. I think that more than half of Israel's population think it's there's another reason for the name.
I actually looked it up, and it says it's named after a person.
In
Sabir,
Sabich. Okay.
or maybe the last name is Sabir.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and there was like a presentation. Hey, do we believe the internet? I don't know. But I always thought it was after, yeah. And it was brought by this person from Iraq. Hence, it's an Iraqi dish. So, yeah. So should we go ahead on the hilbeh maybe while this is still simmering? And then the lachuch is still rising?
Yes,
That
okay.
works?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me clear my space. Okay. So I have my hilbeh powder in here, and in the recipe I sent you was about 6 tablespoons. You're gonna have a lot of hilbeh, but I always like to make more than necessary because I freeze everything. So I'm gonna show you. Okay, so if you see here, you see kind of sediment on the bottom. That's the hilbeh gel, and this is the water. If you'd like I said, you can drink this. This is very healthy. But I'm going to go ahead and discard the water, and then I'll show you the gel. All right, so do you see this? It's sort of a gel-like gloopy gloop. This is what you want. Okay, so I'm going to take half of this and I'm going to put it into the blender. I don't want to put everything into the blender, just so that the blender is not too much for it, and I don't want the blender to overwork. And I'll do it in 2 parts. Okay. You guys see me? Can you see what I'm doing?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, I'm going to take my half of this, literally just slice it in the middle, and this is what you're going to see. Someone has said, is it smooth? No, you're going to see little grains inside. You see it's very grainy. Put about a cup of cold water. Okay, if you have distilled water, like clean water, that's even better. But cold tap water could work as well. And it was hard when it's sending the recipes. Everything is done through my mind. I really had to kind of sit down and break it down for you. So I'm going to add a splash of lemon juice. And I'm going to add some schug as well. I did not add this to the recipe because you don't have to add schug, but I do. Now, by default, hilbeh is very bitter, and it's an acquired taste. You have kind of issues with bitterness. Some people add leek. You take a little bit of a leek, like a little portion of it, and you can stick it inside with the hilbeh, and it'll kind of cut the bitterness a little bit, so you won't have that. You'll taste more of a veggie taste versus that bitter, hard taste. It'll really cut it for you. And now I'm going to add some salt. We can't forget the salt. What did I say for salt? Salt is really just to taste. So kind of, I use my fingers. This is kosher salt. I'm just going to sprinkle some in to start. Go ahead and then blend it on high. It's going to be very loud. I apologize. So what's going to happen is that when you put the hilbeh in, the hilbeh is very dark. And then when you add water and you blend it on high, it's going to fluff up and turn light in color, almost white. I added smoke, so you won't see the whiteness. It's a little thick. I'm going to add some water. Some people like to add some tomatoes, grated tomatoes at the end. So it's just a preference. I've seen that as well. Okay, it's getting there. I don't know if you see this. Probably hard to see, but you see it's a little, it's very frothy. And what happens, it's gonna be, you'll see some air bubbles in there. You want it to be very airy and frothy. This is the consistency that I like. I'll show you what I mean. So you can see this. Okay, watch it come out, how it's gonna plop. And then it creates some stiff peaks as it comes out, and then it'll just flatten. But that's like a whipped like consistency. And it's pretty fluffy. So when it's fluffy and airy like this, it's going to float on top of the soup. So you want to create those air bubbles. That's why you really blend it on high. And that's pretty much hilbeh. It's very easy. Pretty much it. Any questions?
Now, are you going to use that to flavor the soup or what?
Yes, you can use it. You take a dollop of the hilbeh and you put it inside the soup and it will float on top. You can use it as a dip. So take your lachuch, the bread that we'll be making shortly, tear it and dip. It's like a spread too. You can use it for anything.
So it doesn't fluff up like a matzo ball. It doesn't become so solid.
It's not solid. It's whipped. It's a very whipped consistency.
Huh.
And it's airy. Like it has a lot of air in it.
Yum.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice texture when you bite into it or when you put it in your mouth.
But Doreet, isn't it like cilantro that you either like it or hate it?
For the hilbeh in general, so you don't have to put. Some people like it with lemon juice, salt, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, use your taste buds. It's however you like. But this is how I grew up on it. So it's very familiar to me. I've had it with tomatoes in it. I had it no cilantro. I had people put other things in it, like a red paste of sorts. But that's not me. Maybe it would be a red schulg. I don't know. Probably that it was that. I don't really remember, but
Will you have a dish like this in your store for Friday?
yep. It's hilbeh. I sell as well separately.
Yum.
Okay. I'm just going to give this a nice little. Wow, my tomatoes are getting. It's very, 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 very soft. Okay. So I'm going to get the lachuch batter and get that prepared.
Maya, can you post a menu on email for us?
Od kama dakot, Lenny? Od reva sha'a.
You mean, should I send you an email with the recipes?
No, her menu.
Ah, the menu. Yeah, I mean,
אז
put it-
אנחנו יכולים, we can reorder then.
I will put the Malawach bar link in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So for as far as the lachuch goes, I make 10-inch diameter lachuch. They're pretty large, but I do that is because I wrap it. Yeah, I want it large enough to fill it and wrap it. You are more than what you can use any size pan as you need. So I see, you can make it small, like 8 inches, 6 inches, 4 inches. You can make crumpet size. So this is a 12-inch size pan. And so the lachuch size will be 10 inches in diameter. And you also need a cover.
God.
I'm gonna click on the back really quick. Okay, the batter looks pretty good. Okay, exactly how I'd like it. I want you to see it. It's liquidy, but when you look at it, if you were here in person, it looks like it's liquidy, but it has texture on top. I don't know how to explain that, but as if it's like a little bit lumpy, but it's not. That's the ideal, I guess, consistency. And that's when you know it's ready to be cooked. So you will need a ladle. I'll be right back. Grab my ladle. Sorry about that. A ladle to scoop your batter, and you'll also need a spatula this size, ideal. And your pan should be nonstick. You're going to need to use some spray. You can also use oil with a little, you can put oil, if you don't have a spray, you can put some canola or olive oil, but on like a paper towel, and then rub it inside the pan. You don't want to have a film of oil that's too much, because what will happen, you'll have hot spots. So you want to have an even cooking surface. I'm going to spray the pan. I'm going to turn on the gas, the stove here. I'm going to leave it on high, and I'm going to lower it to about a medium high. Just like that. Now I'm going to ladle in 3 scoops in order to make a 10-inch diameter. If you're using if you want an 8-inch diameter, use 2. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, what's important with the lachuch, you don't want to mix the batter. You don't want to disturb the bubbles, because you want to create bubbles in the pan. So don't mix the batter. Really just skim the top and elegantly put it in. Don't be rough with it. So now I'm gonna, you see that? I want to make sure the whole pan is filled, but don't shake it, because you want to, again, disturb the bubbles. I'm gonna place it on here, and in about 5 minutes, you'll see it start to dry up. And when it's about 80% cooked on top, this looks like a pie graph. About 80% is cooked or dry on top. You take your cover and then you place it and allow it to cook completely. And then you can remove it. And then we'll have to cool the pan down upside down. You have to flip the pan and cool it under cold tap water. They're going to allow this to cook. Would it be helpful if I had another pan here, or is the one pan better?
For me, this is fine the way you have it.
Okay, so as it's kind of cooking, any questions or anything that you'd like for me to share?
And there were two questions in the chat about the pen. What kind of pen? Where did you get it? And can it be made with whole wheat flour?
Great question. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna turn this down. So you can use any non-stick pan. It doesn't have to be commercial. It doesn't be fancy. I actually got this one from Target. I couldn't find a non-stick commercial pan that I liked. So I got this pan for about $22, $23 at Target, and it works amazingly well. I have 4 of them. So every morning I have 4 pans on this grill. And I make about 20 a day, 20, 24. See, right now, can you see it bubbling? And if not, I can bring it up closer. Okay, it's starting to pop and bubble. And then there was another question about the pan. And then is there anything else? I forgot. There was another second part.
I have
Can
a
it-
question. Is
Wait,
there
wait.
sorry, is that like the Ethiopian
Injera. So
yes, is that like that?
it's similar. So now injera is sour. And the reason why it's sour is that they allow the yeast to ferment. So what they do is they make it, the batter, and they let it sit on the counter for 3 days. And so the yeast starts to ferment and turn sour. And also they use, forgive me, the flour is called net. It starts with an N. It's not all-purpose flour. They use a different kind of a flour. Oy, it's a different flour.
It's Neff. It's
Neff.
a different grain. Yeah.
Different grain. Yes. Okay. So yeah, and so it's actually brown. It's brown and it's thin. Mine is more of a pizza-like thickness. Okay, it's starting to pop more. Do you see this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The other question was whether you could use whole wheat flour.
Well, whole wheat flour has less gluten and it's more dense. I wouldn't use whole wheat flour completely to try. I would probably use 1/4 and then 3/4 all purpose and see how that works. And if it works well, then do half and half.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I see it's about 80%, and I'm going to cover it and allow the top to completely dry out. The first one always takes the longest because the pan is not cooked, is not heated completely. Every subsequent lachuch will take much quicker because the pan is already heated and it's already even. The heat is conducted evenly after this one. So, yeah.
What day do you sell the sabich?
Every day.
Oh, awesome. I'll come.
Yeah. And so literally this is, it's like, if you look at it, it's a sponge. It's like a spongy bread, spongier than a pancake. It's really a fun bread to eat. And when people bite into it, they don't expect, because I think sometimes they expect pita, like a lafa that has a harder surface, I guess. But this is soft. So it's like biting into like a soft cloud. It's really fun. Okay, so I'm noticing that the edges are getting a little brown. So this is where I want to just kind of release the lachuch from the pan. And I'm going to check the bottom. to make sure it's to how I like it. Yeah, it's pretty golden. I like it. I'm gonna place it on here. Place it onto another surface. So I use like a baking sheet or baking pan. And I want to put it a cotton, sort of a cotton sheet, a towel, anything. Okay, so why you want to do that, you want to retain the heat, but make sure it's cotton so that it's breathable. So I'm going to take and I'm going to place it on there. Just like this. And as you make more lachuch, you don't want to place it on top of each other because it's going to be very moist and wet. You want the heat to be released. So you want to place the lachuch, overlap them on either side, just so that they're not literally on top of each other. So when you place it onto the baking sheet, you want to just cover it to retain the heat, but yet you're allowing it to breathe because the towel is of a cotton fabric. Okay, I'm gonna place it on the counter. So when I'm done with that first one, what you want to do is go to your sink, flip this over. I need to cool the bottom in order to start the next one. If I do not cool it, what would happen is that when you place the next batch, it's going to burn. You don't want that. You want to have an even cooking with a lachuch because it has to cook slow but evenly. So I'm going to go ahead to the sink. Bring a towel with you to wipe the bottom when you're done. You're going to let it cool. It's going to steam for just like a few seconds underwater and then wipe it down. I allowed it to cool. It's still hot, but it's not too hot to put the next batch. Again, I'm going to use my spray. I always like using a spray. And I'm going to do 3 ladles full of batter. 1, 2, and 3. Again, I'm just going to swirl it so that it completely fills the entire pan, and I'm going to place it back on. This should be a little bit more quicker as it cooks. And I'm going to show you how this looks. So this is the lachuch. And if you see that, all these little holes. And it's pretty thick.
Wow.
So when you cover it like that with the towel, it will soften slightly and then it'll become like the spongy consistency. So very important to cover it. Yeah, I'm gonna make one more, or do you want me to finish the entire batter or do another couple more? Up to you guys, however you feel.
I don't know. I wanted to ask you, people say that this kind of food is very oily. So
Especially
is it true? Is it considered to be healthy or less healthy? Do you make it healthier than the traditional food somehow?
Yeah. So I can tell you this. Traditionally, it was made with samane. It's a clarified butter. Healthy. I make a par version, a non-dairy version, and I do use margarine, a short leaf. I've been on this quest to look for a healthier option. I did find something that I like, and I'll tell you why. Before I launched my business, I created some sort of a round table in my home. I invited people of all different backgrounds, Jewish, non-Jewish, ethnic, and I put in front of them a jasmine and a matzah. And each one of them was made differently. I used margarine, I used butter on another, then I used coconut oil, I used a plant-based butter, and then I used like this vegan something else butter. It was about four to five options for each of them. Butter obviously was the best. They loved it because it had that taste of butter too. Second runner-up was margarine because it had the same consistency, but you know, maybe not of that taste. And then the rest kind of like fell through. They didn't like it. So butter, unfortunately, I cannot use in my establishment. If I had the chance, I absolutely would, because that's my preference due to taste. And obviously, it is healthier than a margarine.
Yes, margarine contains trans fat, so
I know. I've used all of the non-dairy options that are available in supermarkets, and they were all so bad. I even used olive oil and not canola, because I don't like, but olive oil, and they all came out dry or just not the way it should be. However, I did come upon something else, and I may partner with them, and I love them very much. But we'll see how that goes, and so I'm excited for that. But I too feel the same way. But ultimately, when I use margarine, it works almost exactly the same as butter. And so the final product is, to me, good enough or perfect enough. But unfortunately, I wish I could use butter, but I'm a non-dairy establishment and I can't do that. So, and when I did use butter, people were complaining of lactose intolerance, and it was hard to really cater to all different health, restrictions, when you use dairy. But so par was the safest option. This is the next batch. You see how much quicker? This is on here. And so if I do partner with this company, you definitely will know. I'll let everybody know.
question. So for example, you said that you sell every day 20, I don't know, you have to prepare 20 hilbeh. So when do you make them? Do you make them ahead or what?
The hilbeh, you mean?
Yes.
So
No, what it is called, the lachuch, the lawach.
I make about 300 to 500 a week. So
So
I make the dough and I form it, I laminate it, and I freeze it. So
okay.
flash freeze it. I have a commercial freezer.
Okay.
And I sell jachnun unbaked in its unbaked form, vacuum sealed. So people, I have customers who want to bake it on their own at home. So I sell that version. I also sell a frozen baked jachnun. I bake it,
Yeah.
flash freeze it, and package it. And so this baked frozen form allows customers to literally take one out and put it in the microwave or put it in the oven for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then they can have it any time of the week, not on Shabbat or whenever.
Okay, so you freeze for the most part. Okay.
Yeah, and I also sell it baked completely. People don't want to bake it; they're scared. They don't know how to do it, so I bake it for them and I give it to them hot and ready with the eggs and the schug and the resik.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Would you like for me to show again the lachuch, or up to you?
No, we said that. That's fine. Thank you.
You're good.
Yeah.
So I want to show you the final. So this is it. See how it's golden? So let me get the other one that's less hot. I have customers that use it as pizza. So for their kids, I make so much of this, and sometimes I have leftover. You can make pizza for this with this, but basically for the sabiach, I wrap it just like this, and they eat it like this. So that's how it's eaten. Now, for our sake, for the demonstration today, we have soup, we have hilbeh, and the lachuch, and I can kind of show you the presentation of how it's eaten. I know we were doing matzo ball soup. I'm not an expert on matzo balls, so I use a box. They have perfect amount of baking powder and whatever seasoning they put in there. I tried it once with matzo ball crumbs. It just didn't work for me. It's not for me. So I use a box. So here are my 2 matzo ball soups. I'm going to get my ladle. Hold on, sorry. Where did I put it? Okay. 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 So you're gonna pour some of the matzah over. So you're gonna make the matzo balls obviously separately in a separate pot. Okay. Just like that. Let's garnish with a little bit of cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, you can use parsley. If you don't like either, don't use any. I'm going to garnish with a little bit for color and seva and taste. I'm going to take my hilbeh. I'm going to let it float. Look at that. It's like a jelly. Let it float on top. Like so. Then I'm going to grab my lachuch. And this is how it's eaten. You rip, dip, grab a little bit of the hilbeh, enjoy. Oh my God, delicious. Amazing. And that's the meal. This would be considered a very nutritious meal. I mean, again, if you're watching your carbs, take a little bit of the full. You don't need to eat all of it. But this is very nutritious. All these vegetables, and you have your hilbeh, matzo balls. Again, if you're watching your carbs, don't use matzo balls, use chicken. That's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing, Doreet. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Very
Naeem.
nice. Thank you.
Very much.
Very lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maya, for organizing that. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Sherry, for finding Doreet for us.
Sherry,
You're
welcome.
thank you.
I think we should schedule a round 2 at the restaurant.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yes.
And have a meal. So
I think we should have
think
sign
about
up.
it.
We should have a sign up sheet and we should go 6 and 6 and 6. For several
Surla Tab used to do these cooking classes where they only allow 6 or 8 people. And I think so many of us are going to sign up. Those of us who keep kosher are going to definitely sign up for dinners to pick up.
Very
This
nice.
was fabulous.
Yeah, this
Thank
was
you
lovely.
so much.
Thanks, Doreet.
So,
With
Okay, good night.
guys want
So-
to make jachnun? That's another option.
Okay, next time.
very nice.
Well,
Thank you so
oh,
much. And on behalf of
Thank you.
Maya and Beth David Women and the Jewish Silicon Valley and Bonnie Slavitt as the chair of the committee and Sherry as the instigator of this program. Thank
Yes.
you. And thanks to you, Doreet, and thanks to all of you who are participants here. Lots of
Thank you
questions. It
so
was very
much.
nice. Thank
Very,
you.
very
Good night.
nice.
Thank you, Jane.
Good night. now.
Bye.
Okay, I
Bye-bye.
need to say one more thing. This is the last week of the Silicon Valley Period Equity Project. Congregation, Beth David, Shir Hadash, and Emmanuel still have barrels. Online, you can donate, and Maya will put up in the chat the website so you can donate still. We've done really well. I mean, I can't believe how much has been bought and donated, and barrels full
No,
repeated
barrels are
times.
overflowing, excuse the pun.
Yes, yeah, they're overflowing. So we call kavod to this whole community for helping us help some woman or girl go to school, go to work, live their lives without worrying this month.
Thank you so much, Sherry. And instead of putting it in the chat, I will send it in the email. Hopefully you will all get it. If you didn't get it, contact me, okay?
Thank you to our fabulous professional Maya, who juggles 3 departments that she runs, not just Jewish life and culture.
No.
Thank you. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Good night.
Bye.